7 to 10-minute speech entitled Social Media Business. Please help me welcome Stefania.
What have you learned about social media? Seriously. What have you learned about, or what have you learned from your experience of social media?
I learned that a friend of mine who was very involved with my club had quit the board of directors, and they were very disappointed. So it was kind of like interesting information for kind of what's going on culturally within a group that I was very much involved in.
Thank you, Jim.
I've learned that it has made the world a much smaller place. I'm communicating with friends back home in Bulgaria through such a large distance in such an easy way.
What a powerful thought. That's very helpful, Chris.
Learn that you really can't hide anything. And I've learned that a lot of people who think something's noteworthy really isn't as noteworthy. Where you wake up in the morning, Twitter that, Tennessee breakfast, Twitter that.
Very interesting, David.
I learned that I was trying to get a hold of a publicist and I couldn't get their email address, and then I just looked them up on Facebook and I got their information that way, so it's a good resource tool.
Fabulous. Well, you know, with the social media stuff, I think one of the things that I'm noticing is that people like people. And there's a business side to this. Customer acquisition can be free. Think about this. In your smallest community, your family, that's a place where people value you. The nature of a community is the place where people who know you value you. So interestingly enough, think of this model. Your family is the smallest number of people that might know you, and that's a certain amount of value. And then you've got the in-laws. That's a slightly larger community that values you. And then there are people that you know through your hobbies, your neighborhood, your church, and that's a bigger community of people that value you. Get even beyond that, and maybe they're classmates or people that you meet in business, your old bosses and colleagues. They value you. Pretty much you've got the community at large, the associations, and other people. Maybe you're a thought leader, and a lot of people value you. There's a business case for social media. People like to do business with people they know. The more multifaceted you are, the more multifaceted might be your community. All of this is a business case. Think about this. Let me give you some statistics. Did you realize that Facebook is the third largest search engine in the world now? Facebook. Facebook didn't start out as a search engine. Facebook started out by a guy who wanted to get dates. But he listened to his market and his community, and he ended up making modifications and engrossing a larger number of people in the community who all valued what he offered. And next thing you know, it's the third largest search engine in the world. Here's an observation for you. When business owners start out, many of us start out with products. That's true of the 19th century, the 18th century, maybe even the 20th century. You started out with a product and you attracted people who wanted to use your product. So product development became the methodology for customer acquisition. Seemed logical. You started out with a product, you created another product and got more people to acquire your product, and then you develop more product and you get more people to do it that way. That's not true in the 21st century. In the 21st century, like Facebook just described to us, you start out with your consumer, your customer, your community, and you find out what it is that they value. And you let that be free customer acquisition. And then because they value you, they'll tell you what else they will buy. And if you're listening, you bring a very large company. Apple Computer. Did you realize that Apple Computer exceeded the capitalization of Microsoft? Apple Computer started out as a computer company. It ain't no computer company now. It's a mobile device company. People go around identifying themselves as Apple people. Talk about a community. Apple people are a vibrant community that create an environment of other things, Apple packages, to keep nurturing that community. It's pretty wild. So let me ask you 3 questions for you to consider. In your business, as long as you're going to have customers, who would you like to have customers as? You see, when you're working, you're not with your family and your friends. But you have a choice. If your family and friends were actually your customers. What I mean by that is, when you're working, who would you like to be working with? Think about your community in that way. I particularly love working with business builders. I would talk to business builders all day long if you didn't pay me. I just think that's the most interesting conversation I could possibly have. So think about your customers that way. If you were hanging out and you weren't with your existing spouse or relationship that you've selected, who do you want to hang out with? And see if that might not be your community of customers. Second question I have for you is, where do those people hang out? And third, if you in fact could have a community that valued you so much that your cost of customer acquisition went to 0, what would that mean for your company? Think about how much you spend right now on customer acquisition. I'm talking, what, advertising? What else have you got? Conferences? What else have you got?
Travel.
Absolutely. Got to go see people face to face. Travel. What else have you got for customer acquisition in your current game plan? Telephone calls. You got utility bills. You've got, emails that go no place. You got a lot of dead responses, a lot of wasted time. If you took that and combined it into a percentage of how many dollars you're spending, assuming your revenue is 100%, I bet you'd find that customer acquisition is a damn large percent. Is it 15%? Maybe you wish. Maybe 25%? Some companies, maybe even 40%. So what would that mean if you could have customer acquisition come down a lot? That's the power available in social media. So here are 3 things we need to do. First, we need to define our customer. I mean the one we love. I mean the one that we really want to work with. What do they feel? What do they believe? What do they want? I mean, they're human beings. Treat them as human beings. Define your customer as a human being with all the characteristics of Maslow's, is it a triangle? Yeah, a triangle. Okay? What are they scared about from a survival standpoint? All right, after that's handled, what is it that they really want? Okay, now, what's the difference in the world they really want to make? Define your customers, number one. Number two, where do these guys hang out? Gotta do some research. Gotta find out where they hang out. And when you figure that out, there are probably some very inexpensive ways of reaching them. All right, here's the most important thing. Engage with them. Dialogue with them. Remember, maybe in the 17th century and maybe in the 18th century, it was product-centric to build a business. But in the 21st century, evidenced by Facebook, Groupon, and not just software companies. Apple's a manufacturer, well, a company, that's not in the software business or not in the internet business. Customer centricity is now the business acquisition model that really creates dramatic results. So, for the rest of our seminar, we're going to address exercises on those 3 points. Point number 1, what's the definition? The human definition of our best customer, the one that we really want, that we love. 2, where do they hang out? What kind of research can we do? And number 3, how can we engage with them to help lower our cost of customer acquisition to 0? And when we do, the real efficient companies have a mechanism where customer acquisition is maybe break even. If they're lucky, a little bit of profit, but it's certainly not a huge loss. That's the most sustainable company, because once you've got a customer that you love and that loves you, they're an annuity. Sound like a good plan?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Thank you very much, Stefania. Excellent speech. Our next speaker tonight is giving a 5 to 7 minute speech.